Today we finish off Tiny Tim Week with a terrifying tale of a short, dwarf-like entity haunting the bedroom of a young man. But this gnome is not here to grant wishes or to tell you that your husband has been wounded in Vietnam. No! He's here to be a total pervo. And then we take a look at the story of a young man, a different young man. It'd be funny if both of these stories happen to the same guy. Then we take a look at the story of another young man who's just trying to get a good night's sleep until he is thrust face first into a terrifying world. A world of darkness. A world of evil. A world he may never escape. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys have some awesome plans for the weekend. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know we're coming up to Christmas. I really want to see Five Nights at Freddy's 2, so maybe I'll go see that. Right? High hopes, right? But I hope you guys have some awesome plans. I'll be playing a lot of Battlefield 6 this weekend as well. But someone whose life is a battlefield, someone who has dodged all the bullets reality can throw at her. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Virginia from Instagram. Woohoo, yeah, wee! Haha, she's running on in. Virginia posted on her social media her Spotify Wrapped. This is something we do every year. And when it says you've listened to Dead Rabbit Radio so many hours, you've listened to so many episodes, this is what Spotify Wrapped does. Post it on your social media. Send me a link and you can get a shout out because that's doing one of the most important things you can do. Spreading the word about the show. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show, and that is what Virginia did. And that's why Virginia is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. And if you guys have a Spotify Wrapped that mentions Dead Rabbit Radio, post it on your socials. Send me a link and you too can get a shout out. Okay, Virginia, we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to go ahead and toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. Everyone climb on board this rickety old chitty bang bang car as we leave behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Virginia, why don't you drive us all the way out to a house in Anytown, USA. As we're headed out there, a quick reminder, December 19th, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are going to be doing our Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. That is for our Patreon members, both paid and free members, have access to the Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. We watch a bunch of short horror films. It's always been a lot of fun. I look forward to it personally. I love watching short horror movies, and I love hanging out with you guys. So if you are a member of the Patreon, you can join us for our December 19th Dead Rabbit Radio movie night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then the next morning, December 20th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we will be hosting the Dead Rabbit Radio movie morning. And that is open to everybody. Everyone can swing on by and take a look at what we are watching. It's a lot of fun. I really hope you guys show up. I know it's getting close to the holidays. I know you guys got a lot of stuff to do. But if you got a couple minutes to spare, right, there's short horror movies. You can just watch one or two, say hi, and then be on your merry way. Or stick around for the whole thing, right? I'm not saying you can only watch two, but it's always a lot of fun. Okay, we end up in Anytown, USA, and we see a house. It looks like every other house in the neighborhood. And I point to it and I go, that's the house. I pull out my set of burglar tools to Jimmy, open the lock. You're like, wait, what? You don't have like a magical, whimsical way to get in? Nope, just regular old bump keys and lockpicks. And I finally get the lock open. We sneak into the house and I go, hey, look at this living room. It looks just like every other living room on the block. We look around in the bedrooms and I go, look at that mother sleeping there. She just looks like every other sleeping woman of every other house I've broken into. Slumber, milady, as I steal your VCR. We look around the house and I go, it's totally normal, right? It's totally normal place. But wait, I say. And I open a bedroom door. And we see a young man fast asleep in his bedroom. Now, it's quite a small bedroom. He says that he has his bed set up, and about 5 feet away from the bed is his television. Because it's a really small bedroom. And I go, this appears normal, right? A normal bedroom. A normal sleeping man. He's around 16 years old. Teenager would probably be a more accurate way to describe him. But anyways, we see this teenager, who we will call Philip. We don't have his real name. Sleeping in this bed. But quit looking at the sleeping boy. Turn your head 5 feet to the side so you can see his television set. And I go, do you see anything? I don't see anything. I just see a television there. And you may not see anything. And you may not see anything. And you over there, you might not see anything either. And you in the back, still looking at the sleeping mother. Come on, leave her alone. You may not see anything. But Virginia sees something. And she gasps. And this other person over here goes, gasps too. And then this other person over here, and it seems like 50% of us are terrified of something behind the television set. And then I go, only women can see it. Only women can see what's behind the television set, I say, as I walk over to the TV. Is it here? And I'm sticking my hands into nothing. And you go, well, I don't know what you're doing. But all the women go, oh! And I go, is it here? And I stick my hands into, you just see me waving my hands behind this television set. I'm all pulling out all the cables. And half of us go, dude, what are you doing? Are you having like a fit? You're just kind of like moving your hands in the middle of the air. While 50% of us, they're about to faint. Because only women can see what's behind the television set. So what is going on here? Let's take a look at the story of Philip. He's 16 years old. He starts dating this girl. We'll call her Tiffany. And one night, she spends the night over at his place. They're hanging out. They go to bed. He's dead asleep, but in the middle of the night, someone starts shaking him. Philip! Philip! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! And he's like, what's going on? And he reluctantly opens his eyes and wakes up as Tiffany is shaking him, and he can hear the fear in her voice. He can see the terror in her eyes. She's going, Phil, there's something behind your television set. There's something, he's looking at me. He's still looking at me, Philip. Who is that guy? What's he doing there? And Philip turns and looks. Television set's 5 feet away. Imagine how scary that would be to be woken up in the middle of the night. Someone's going, there's a little man in the room. A little man. He's behind the television set. You're like, I don't want to look over there. I'm just going to close my eyes and pretend you didn't say that. It would be so scary. But anyways, Philip turns and looks over there and he doesn't see anything. He goes, what are you talking about? There's a little man. He's ducking. Oh, Philip, he's ducking behind the television set. It makes it even creepier now because he's actively hiding. If you woke up in the middle of the night and there was a man standing in your living room, that would be terrifying enough. But imagine if you woke up in the middle of the night and you went downstairs to go and get some soda or something to drink out of the fridge, and you see a man hiding. Jason, they're both terrifying. Actually, it might be more scared of the guy who's standing up because he's ready to fight. He doesn't have to uncrouch. Yeah, I would argue it would be scarier because that means the guy's hiding. Oh, Jason. Does a bank robbery get any scarier if they just dress up as plants and slowly shuffle towards the front desk? No, it's scary whenever anyone's in your house. Well, I think it's scarier. Anyways, Philip looks over there. There's no one over there. And Tiffany's totally freaking out. There's a little man and he's hiding behind your television set. And so finally, obviously, to get some peace and quiet, Philip goes, I'm going to get up out of this bed. I'm going to walk over and I'm going to see if there's a little man. It's a copy of that Marlon Wayans movie. She's like, that movie's horrible. Oh no, I see the DVD cover. Hide it, please. I never saw that movie. I don't know if it's horrible, but it made for a good joke. Philip gets up and he walks over to the television set and he's looking behind it and there's no little man. Or a normal-sized man. There's nothing. But she is insistent. She goes, I woke up in the middle of the night. I don't know why I woke up, but I woke up and I saw a dwarf standing behind your television set with this creepy smile, and he would kind of start to crouch behind it like he was trying to hide from me. But he clearly knew I saw him, because he was still staring at me. So I woke you up. Philip goes, that is insane. You must have had a bad dream. There's no little man behind my television set. And, Philip has thought about this, and he goes, it's not like my room's particularly dark either. He goes, my blinds were this particular type of blind that I couldn't close them all the way, so there's a lot of light in my room, a lot of moonlight was shining in. It wasn't super dark in there. I don't know even what she could have mistaken in my room as a little man hiding behind my television set, but whatever. He makes the comment when he posted this online, he posted it anonymously on the X board. He said, from then on, my girlfriend slept at the back. What I think he means is, like, not next to the television set, which would be fair, right? She goes, can we switch sides? You're like, no, I'm more comfortable over here. You can sleep by the terrifying phantom only you can see. And apparently she didn't see it again. It was only that one time that she saw it, or at least she didn't say that she saw it again. Because, of course, he's pretty dismissive of the whole thing. He thinks she's just seeing things. Well, fast forward a year, and Philip is no longer dating Tiffany. You know what happened when she gets hauled off to the lunatic asylum? He's like, I'm not a big fan of long-distance relationships. She's like, the little man standing right next to you. I can still see him. They break up. He ends up dating a girl, we'll call her Rebecca. And one night, Rebecca comes over to his place to spend the night. Well, in the middle of the night, Philip's deep asleep, and all of a sudden, wake up, Phil! Phil, wake up! Oh my God, wake up! He's like, what? At this point, it had been a year. He probably forgot about the first time. He's like, why are you waking me up in the middle of the night? He wakes up, and Rebecca is completely in a state of panic. She goes, there's a little man behind your television set. And he's ducking. He's like hiding his head. Isn't that scarier than if he was just standing here? Oh, the terror, the terror. And there's a little man hiding behind the television set, just staring at her, smiling. And Philip said, listen, I never told Rebecca what Tiffany had seen. Because why would you? You get a girl over to your place, you're not going to be like, first off, you don't bring up other girls. He never told Rebecca anything about this. So when Rebecca wakes him up and is screaming about a little man hiding behind the television set, now he goes, well, maybe Tiffany wasn't so crazy after all. Maybe I should speak at that hearing on whether or not she should get released. Because now I have two different women who have said there's a tiny man, there's a short man hiding behind my television set. Now Philip, he has a pretty active lifestyle, pretty active sex life. He dated other girls. Other girls spent the night at his place over the years. He goes, no other girl except those two ever mentioned a little man hiding behind the television set. But he said there was one time that he had a girl over. He said it was late evening. They weren't asleep. So it wasn't in the middle of the night. He goes, it was late in the evening, and I told her, hey, listen, I gotta go drain the main vein. I gotta let the snake spit. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And he just gets up and leaves. And he said when he came back from the bathroom, his new girlfriend is sitting in his bedroom, visibly scared. That's how he described it. He walked in and he could see something had terrified her, but she didn't say what it was. He asks, hey, is everything okay? She doesn't tell him. So he gathered that something scary happened to her while he was in the bathroom. He goes, but I didn't know what it was. And she didn't tell him what it was. And they actually stopped dating shortly after that. He goes, so I never really even had the opportunity to follow up with her. She didn't want to talk about that night. And then I just stopped talking to her. In fact, I never heard from her again. This entity is unusual. I mean, it's Tiny Tim Week, right? So we're talking about shorter entities, but what I find really fascinating about this one is think about it. And I don't want to pontificate too long on this because I do this all the time. I find all of these stories so fascinating that I could talk on and on and on about them. Think about, we've done over 1,500 episodes in this show, plus all of the research you've done yourself, just Netflix documentaries you've watched over the years, books you've read, unsolved mystery episodes, whatever. all of our combined knowledge of the paranormal, how many stories can you recall of a phenomenon that is only viewable by one sex? You may have stories of a cryptid that hunts men, primarily men who get lost in the woods or lost in the jungle. This cryptid assumes the form of a beautiful woman and is killing them. We covered a story like that a long time ago in Brazil, but those stories go back millennia. But that doesn't mean women can't see them. It just means it's not their primary target. And it also would generally kill loggers. The one I'm thinking about in Brazil, the guardian of the forest. So it was mostly men that it would encounter. Think about all of the paranormal stories we've covered and the stuff that we just read ourselves over the years. How many times can you think of a ghost or an entity that only appears to one sex? I can't think of any off the top of my head. We may have covered one or two on this podcast, but I could not even begin to guess what they were. It doesn't make sense. That's kind of been an ongoing thing this week. We're talking about these short people stories, these Tiny Tim, these dwarf stories, and all of them kind of exist in this realm as we know that short people as an entity is thousands of years old, whether it's stories of gnomes, whether it's stories of fairies, whether it's stories of gray aliens are also always described as being short. There's something about a entity or a creature that is shorter than the average human and the tricks they play on us. It's almost like, I don't know if it's part of the human psyche that we have invented these tropes or invented these icons that keep replaying throughout human history. Or if there's an advantage to being that short if you are paranormal. I don't know. Like, if they're real, why are so many of them shorter than humans? Across the world, across cultures, across timelines, we have stories like this. That's very odd to me. But the fact that you have one that only women can see. Now, what's interesting, there is a bit of a caveat to that. We've covered a ton of stories that only children could see these particular types of entities, or only the dying could see these types of spirits. But it was never sectioned off by, well, you have to be slowly dying and you're a man before you see a dead relative show up to guide you over to the other side. There are points in time in life that may make you more attuned to seeing things, i.e. a child where you don't really know, you haven't been told 1,000 times ghosts aren't real, so you still can see them, or you just have some built-in psychic connection the younger you are. And as you near the end of your life, that psychic connection returns in one way or the other. So you could have a room of someone slowly dying and saying they're seeing shadows run into their room and they're really terrified, but the attending nurse doesn't see anything. That has nothing to do with the sex of the patient and the nurse. An entity that can only be seen by women, which does give it, to me, I feel like if it wanted to be visible to Philip, it could have made itself visible to Philip. It didn't want to be visible to Philip. It only wanted the girls to see him. And I think there is a sexual nature to that as well. You have an entity that is doing something creepy on purpose. First off, it's waking them up. It's getting them awake, and then in the middle of the night in a room they're pretty unfamiliar with. They've hung out there before, but a lot of times this is their first time staying over. You have this gnome. This evil gnome that's hiding, that wakes them up and then hides behind the television, is just kind of being a creep. Very interesting story. I can't think of another one, and I could be wrong. You might be able to go, Jason, you did cover a couple episodes like this. And then, that's fair, but I really can't think of any off the top of my head that repeatedly only appeared to women and not to men. Which is creepy again for Philip, because you have to wonder, that gnome probably is in there all the time hiding. He just doesn't see it. And would you want to see the evil creature behind your television set, or would you not want to see him but know that he's there? Both answers are kind of terrifying. He doesn't say that the gnome followed him to other houses. I don't think it's particularly attached to him. It's probably just attached to that house and to that room. So then you imagine another family moving in there. Imagine if that family, instead of Philip, they had a girl. And that was her bedroom. And the terror she must feel the first night she sees it. And then for nights after that, because again, a lot of times families wouldn't believe you if you said, my house, there's a gnome hiding behind my dresser or whatever she has in that same spot. You tell people your house is haunted, a lot of people will believe you. You tell people there's an evil gnome hiding behind your furniture, a lot of people, even your close friends, are going to have a hard time swallowing that one. So this haunting, or whatever it is, this evil, diabolical creature that seems to feed off the fear of women, is most likely still out there. It's not attached to Philip, it's just found possibly new targets. Although you could imagine, what if there is a new person in that room and it's a boy and he never scores? He's never brought a girl home and that gnome's why can't you be a pimp like Philip? Why can't you go out there and woo the ladies? And then maybe it could be like a maybe it could be a Roxanne story. Where the gnome's like, listen, I really get off watching teenage girls be afraid. That's my fetish. Don't click that, by the way. I did change the voice slightly, so at least it didn't sound like me. But the gnome goes, listen, that's what I'm into. And you're a dork. You haven't brought a girl over here yet. So tell you what, we team up. I'm going. It's so funny, the gnome can't appear to the boy. The boy's just sitting there doing math. The gnome's like, I forgot. I'm not visible to men. No! He has to make himself visible, and then he goes, listen, you be the man, I'll be the voice. I'll be the one who's like hella smooth to the ladies, and together we'll get you laid. You want that, right? You want to have sex with women? And of course, the teenage boy's like, yeah, sure, totally. The gnome's like, perfect. Okay. But you'd be like, I do want to have sex with women, but I don't know if I want to bring them over to the gnome house. Because you're just going to show up and scare them, and then they're going to run away. Gnome will be like, no, I got it all worked out. Don't worry about my end of it. Let me just whisper in your ear. And then he does. He says all this seductive stuff to the boy. And then the boy goes out and he uses it on women, and they're like, ooh, I didn't know you were so smooth with your words. Oh, you knew a bunch of old English. You sound like someone from ancient Ireland. And he's like, yeah, my family's from there. So anyways, he just talks like a gnome. I don't know how gnomes hit on people. They're like, hey, would you like to sit on my toadstool? You're like, what? How would a gnome hit on a woman? That sounds like an Adam Sandler movie. But anyways, yeah, it's like all these old-timey leprechaun pickup lines. Ooh, I'd love to pot your gold. What? It doesn't make any sense. I'd like to see your fairy circle. But maybe the gnome will help him out. But you're like, yes, but at the end of the day, the gnome is feeding off the fear of teenage girls. This isn't a romantic story. It's not like he's helping this guy find the true love of his life. He's just trying to get this dork to bring girls home so he can feed off the fear. Yeah, true. That'd be the bad part of the story. The gnome would be played by David Spade. The dork would be played by Adam Sandler. I know how to write a movie. Virginia, let's go ahead and touch the keys to the world-famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind Anytown, USA. Why don't you fly us all the way out to a house in the suburbs? And as we're headed out there, I wanted to do a really quick Dead Rabbit Radio Recommends. I watched this movie a couple weeks ago, and I think it's the perfect time to announce it. Where is that song at? As we're headed out there, I wanted to do a really quick Dead Rabbit Radio Recommends. You know, we haven't really done a lot of stuff in the spirit of Christmas. I even have a Christmas theme song that was sent over a long time ago, but I haven't been able to run it because I don't remember who wrote it. And that's something that was on my old computer. I did this big transfer over. It was like Hermanos de Balois or something like that. The Ball Brothers or something. I don't remember exactly who, but I really want to use that. So if you are one of the Ball Brothers, or if you know the exact name, you know what? I guess I have to go through the past episodes when I gave him credit on last year. Okay, so I'll do that. But another thing with that Christmas song will hopefully be playing next week. Also in the spirit of Christmas, I saw a really cool movie recently, really enjoyed it, called Spirited. This is a movie that really flew under the radar. I would hear people talk about it every once in a while, and everyone who saw it loved it. The problem is nobody watched it. And it stars Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds in you could say it's a modern day retelling of A Christmas Carol, but I don't really think that works as a description. It's actually kind of hard to describe, but it's really good. Great, it's a musical, so great songs, it's funny, and Will Ferrell doesn't spend the whole movie screaming at the top of his lungs, which to me automatically gives it an 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed it, and it is perfect for Christmas time, and it's very unpredictable. Like, when the movie started, I go, oh, okay, so it's just A Christmas Carol, but a musical version. No, it has a lot of twists and turns. So Dead Rabbit Radio recommends Spirited. If you're looking for something funny to watch over the holiday weekend and on point, right? It's about Christmas time. It's not just a ghost movie, but that would be cool too. But check it out. Dead Rabbit Radio highly recommends the musical comedy Spirited. Good movie. I think it'll be in my personal holiday rotation going forward. Virginia's flying us all the way out to this house in the suburbs, and there we are going to meet a young boy. We don't have his real name. We'll call him Barry. Not like the fruit, but like Barry Manilow. That type of Barry. Jason, obviously, we didn't think he was a gumdrop, a little fruit boy, but Barry, like Barry Manilow. So Barry lives in this house, and when he was a kid, he had this dream one night. And I always find this interesting. We covered this on a recent episode. One of you guys, Bambi, sent us in a story about when he had something like this happen. He had a dream, and in the dream, he woke up, but he was still dreaming. It's kind of an interesting setup. The same thing happens here to Barry. He's dreaming, and he wakes up, but he's still dreaming. But he wakes up, and he's in his bedroom, but dreaming, but asleep still, but still dreaming. But he doesn't know that he's dreaming. He thinks he's awake. He's in his bedroom, but there's a kind of a big difference. The entire bedroom is filled with this bright green light. We didn't make noise, but to help you picture. Like, I know what a green light looks like. I don't need sound effects. Yeah, you do. It makes my job more entertaining for me, at least. He wakes up, bright green light in his bedroom, and he can't move. He's trying to, but he can't move his body at all. But then, he wishes he wasn't moving, because he starts to move up. He's floating away from his bed, but he still can't move a muscle. He said it felt like someone was picking him up, an invisible force was lifting him up off his bed. He's terrified. He has no idea what's happening. He doesn't think it's anything good. He wants to grab on to something solid to keep him from simply levitating out of the room, but he can't move. He continues to float around the room, and he looks. His bedroom door is open, and out in the hallway he sees a tall, dark humanoid pacing back and forth down the hallway. Mom! Mom! Barry screams, the terror just overtaking him. He can move his mouth. Can't move anything else. Mom! Help me, Mom! Mom! And he's floating around his room, and this shadowy figure is just pacing back and forth outside of his door. No matter how much he screams for his mother, she doesn't arrive. Barry closes his eyes, and he begins to think, I can't go with whatever's taking me. I can't go with whatever's taking me because I have a very important exam tomorrow in school. I can't go. I have to take my test. I can't go. I have to take my test. And he's repeating this over and over again, not as some sort of he's not trying to negotiate with the invisible force or the shadowy figure out in the hallway. I think he's just thinking. He's like, uh-oh. I mean, I would have been like, I'm all flying away. The invisible force is like, hey, catch that kid. I'm not the one propelling him. Whee! If I had a test tomorrow, I'd be like, take me wherever. Well, we'll get into that in a second, maybe not, but he goes, I can't go. With whatever's going on, I can't go. I have a test tomorrow. And he kept saying this over and over again, not as some sort of spiritual defense, not some sort of logical reasoning with whatever being. It was just like him realizing he had an exam tomorrow. And suddenly, he wakes up into the real world. He wakes up in his bed. He goes, whoa, that was a crazy dream. But he realizes something. His body was in the exact same position as it was when he was floating around the room. So he goes, was it really a dream? Now, I don't know what position his body was in. If he's like flat on his back. I don't sleep flat on my back. A lot of times I wake up flat on my back. I don't know actually how I sleep or how I wake up now that I think about it. But anyways, this guy did. He goes, whoa. I mean, listen, I'm sure I would take note of it if I had a dream like this. I would be like, well, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I was running in place in the air, and I woke up and I was in a runner's position in bed. But anyways, he goes, wow, so maybe it wasn't a dream, because I woke up the exact same way. But maybe it was a dream. Maybe I was dreaming my body was in that position, because that's how I was in the real world. Well, the next day, he talks to his mom, and he's like, Mom, last night I had the craziest dream. I was floating around the room, and there was this shadowy figure outside my door, and I was screaming for you to come and help me, and you didn't come. Barry's mom just kind of looks at him for a moment. She's like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's a pretty crazy dream. And she goes, last night I had a dream myself. I was in this giant house. And I'm walking around and somebody's calling for me. And I could hear it echo through the house. They just keep calling for me over and over and over again. And the whole dream, I was just wandering around this massive mansion, looking for whoever was calling for me. But I never found them. This story, it's interesting. The story has a couple interesting details to it. I think it's something else, but I'm going to go off of what my first instinct is, and probably what your instinct is, alien abduction. We've covered stories, a lot of alien abductions take place when multiple people are in the house. Forget the mainstream media narrative that it's some drunk farmer in Arkansas who's driving his tractor and sees a light in the middle of the sky. That is 100% government-funded misinformation. That's simply not the vast majority of alien abduction stories. In fact, quite a lot of them take place with multiple people in a home, and we've covered a ton of them on this show. We'll see if I can pull some up. Sometimes mid-abduction, one family member will try to wake up another family member, and you'll hear them say things like, it felt like they were drugged. I couldn't wake them up. Or when I woke them up, they didn't act like themselves. And then they just went back to sleep and the phenomenon continued. It's very, very common for someone to be abducted in a house with other people, which makes the phenomenon even more terrifying. It shows the powerlessness that humans have when it comes to aliens. And in this case, my read on, well, first off, let's say, it could have been two people having two weird dreams on the same night, and that's definitely possible. When the dreams seem to interact with each other, that's scientifically impossible. The dreams that you have are not in any way supposed to be able to transfer over to someone else. We cover stories like that. I always find that intriguing because that's not possible. So, I mean, it could have been him having this nightmare and calling out for his mother in the dream. It did affect her on a psychic level, so she had a dream about being powerless as a mother, which, again, in and of itself would be a very fascinating story. You also have this idea that it's very possible that Barry was abducted, and he could go, well, I didn't actually float out the room. I woke up and everything was okay, but it's quite possible that he was actually abducted and doesn't remember the other things that happened, just remembers that part of it. The idea of being lost in a big place, a big building, that's a sign of alien abduction. I would say that the mother may have been taken as well. So it definitely could be alien abduction with this type of story, or it's possible that the aliens were going to abduct Barry, but once they realized he had a very important test tomorrow, they're like, oh, let's go abduct someone else who doesn't have a test tomorrow. Let's go find someone who's already graduated from college. They put Barry back down. That's possible as well. It would be odd that the aliens would really care about whether or not you had a test. But, they're aliens. It's really kind of hard to figure out why they do anything. We have to put a lot of human assumptions on that. It's possible that Barry was abducted, the mother stayed on Earth, or, the ship may still be in orbit. I think most people, when they get abducted, are still somewhere on the planet. We don't always take them to the moon to do all these procedures. Most of the time, it's just on a ship or some sort of base on Earth. The mother remained in her house, but again, her son's psychic link to her, she was having this nightmare, someone calling out for her, and she couldn't find out who it was. It's very possible that both of them were abducted. And the same thing, he may have been calling out for her mother on this ship, psychically or verbally, and she is there. And the idea of a alien ship being remembered as a massive place, that's not super unheard of in alien abduction stories. Because your brain doesn't want to... First off, the aliens may actually be messing with your mind, messing with your memory. But also, you don't want to remember any of that stuff. Even if they're not twisting the sci-fi dial up to 11, you don't want to remember being abducted and having these procedures done to you. Things you might have seen being done to other people. So your brain will kind of abstract it out. But, I was thinking about this story, and I'm going to say that those two... that it was just a dream, a bad nightmare that's psychically connected to his mother's dream. That's the best case scenario. The alien abduction one, it's pretty creepy, right? That's saying it lightly. That's putting it lightly, but alien abduction's kind of creepy. I wonder if Barry was dying. I don't know why I had this feeling, but I wonder if Barry died. And this was... it's funny because I don't know if I think that he died and then came back to life, or if he died and he went to an alternate reality where he was still alive, and this dream was some sort of his way of understanding what's happening, him floating around. The dark figure walking back and forth in the hallway, that's what kind of makes me think that he died, and it's not an alien abduction. Now, we have covered alien abduction stories where the aliens do act really weird. They do. I know in the movies and stuff, it's just the little gray guy poking their head around the corner. But sometimes there are very abstract parts to an alien abduction. But we talked about this, I think, on Tuesday's episode. Gray aliens are almost always described as being short. And almost all typical suburban alien abductions are either done by gray aliens or gray aliens have a part in them. It's very weird. It's very rare, it's not impossible, but it's very rare when a reptilian abducts someone out of a home, or a Nordic, which are the tall, humanoid, like human-looking, full-on aliens, all of this stuff, right? And even that, it's just a tall silhouette, a tall, dark figure. It wasn't described as being a reptilian or anything like that. I wonder if he died, and that this was the transition of his soul from one reality to another. And the mother hearing the screaming, it's interesting too, because she said someone was calling for me, and I wonder if a voice was actually calling her name. Like, let's say her name was Clara, and she kept hearing Clara, Clara, or if the voice that she could never find the source of was saying, Mom! Mom! Because that'd be a big difference. Yeah, I read this, I wonder if he died. His soul kind of leaving the body. He's floating around the room. And this dark figure pacing back and forth in the hallway. It could be a ghost, but ghosts don't normally lift people up like that. So yeah, I started thinking, what if he died and this was his transition from one reality to the other? And the mother being lost in the massive house, hearing someone call out for her, would be the grief of a mother in one reality. Again, this mother in this reality, she didn't wake up and her son was dead. In the old reality, she woke up and Barry was dead in his bed from whatever cause. Because I wonder what happens. It's probably a grim way to end the week, especially when I'm like, watch Spirited, the lovable musical. Sometimes I think, what happens in those cases of sudden death or unexpected death? We don't know the answer to it, obviously, but because I watch a lot of horror movies and ingest a lot of dark media, I've thought about that. Like, I mean, this is creepy and all, but I remember one day I was thinking, I was sitting, this was probably about a year ago, I was hanging out at my mom's house, I think, and I thought, wouldn't that be crazy if I died right now? Like, my heart just stopped. What would I experience? Like, how would I experience that? And what popped in my head was, I'm sitting in my mom's living room and she has kind of a hallway going down to the bedrooms. I'm sitting there and I go, what if, like, my heart stopped right now, but the way that I perceived it was a creepy old man, like an old man, but he's really fast. Like, I'm sitting there and all of a sudden this old man came running out of the hallway at full speed and just sat next to me and put his arms around me and started laughing and shaking me. What? SpongeBob? Is that he showed up? And that is my entrance into the afterlife, if not my eternity. Just the madness of a creepy old man shaking me, laughing in my ear. What? Well, I mean, maybe not eternity. After about 3,000 or 4,000 years of that, I was like, okay, I get it. You're insane. Death is spooky. Can you let me go? But no, like, imagine if you just instantly died. Or the other day I was walking around work and I thought, what if I just dropped dead right now? And the way that I imagined it was all the power goes out. All the power goes out. And at first I think, because I didn't expect to die, right? It's just instant. I'm standing in my workplace and I was like, whoa, the power went out. Okay. And then I start walking around the building and I realize there's no one else in there. And some parts of the building, even with the power out, seem to be almost pitch black, void black, as if that part of the building was just erased. And I turn around and I'm just wandering around this power-outed workplace, not even realizing I'm dead. I'm just kind of lost in the darkness. Just, hello? Walking to the other end of the building, seeing if maybe there, one of my coworkers is there. Maybe there I'll find some answers as to what's going on. But I won't. That's the afterlife for me. And again, maybe it's not forever. Maybe that's just like that initial death shock. I mean, it's creepy, right? You're like, damn it, Jason, that is creepy. I'm going to have to watch Spirited twice tonight. Like, in that initial moment when you die, how do you feel that? Like, how do you know? And I don't think this is where we see a lot of ghosts popping up because they don't know. So if you just died instantly, aneurysm, bam, you're out. You could just wake up in heaven, right? But is there a transition going on there? And the reason why I say that is because a lot of stories, even the afterlife stories where people do go into paradise or get a glimpse of it and sent back, there is a travel moment. There's a moment where they're moving from one passage to the other. And a lot of times in these stories, and this is why skeptics just don't believe these stories, is that these people are sick and they're slowly dying. A lot of times this happens in hospitals. Not all the time. But people have sepsis, people have some sort of disease, they're slowly dying of it. Even if it's just within the course of a day or two, it doesn't have to be a long-term thing, but you have this moment where now you're on your journey. How would that translate the suddenness of it? Like just bam. I wonder about that. I think about that from time to time and what that would entail. Because I think there would be an element of confusion and there would be an element of fear because you didn't know it was happening. Even a heart attack can give you a little bit of a warning. that something's coming, as opposed to just a blood clot just dropping you. Aneurysm. Your brain blows up. That's possible that's what happened to Barry. He died, and what he was seeing was that transition between life and death. And he shifted over into this reality, and... Oh, I gotta shut off my alarm. I don't know, I just got that feeling from this story. I read it the first time and I go, oh, alien abduction. And what's interesting is he doesn't say that. When Barry wrote this up, he never mentioned aliens. This is something when you read a lot, when you research this stuff a lot. Paranormal, yeah, something's going on. Even the shared dream is paranormal. Doesn't have really any hallmarks of a ghost. He doesn't know what happened, and he didn't throw out any theories either. Most likely not a ghost. Honestly, most likely alien abduction, either alien abduction attempt or it actually went through. But in the world of the paranormal, there's just so many options. And this one, when I read it the second time, I go, maybe he died. There's a lot of elements of that as well. So yeah, I do know that it probably was kind of a bummy way to end this week. Not super uplifting. But, I mean, you can look on the bright side. It's possible that he simply got abducted by aliens and was experimented on against his will. I know it's not the most uplifting way as we go into Christmas week, but I thought it was definitely I did do it because I thought it was creepy. I thought it was a creepy story. You're like, yeah, Jason, and you made it extra creepy by talking about how you're going to die, not necessarily, but what you're going to see. That's terrifying. I don't want an old man to run around and grab me. Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what you guys think. I'd wonder what things you guys think about. What's going to happen when you die? Like, what do you think you'll see? And you could go, well, I'll see heaven. Yeah, but before that, I want to know the creepy stuff. Before you go to heaven, in between you dying... a sudden death, no long-term illnesses, you don't get to prepare for this. You die a sudden death, piano falls on you. Something like that, right? You can probably hear that coming. It's playing a little tune on the way down. Sudden death, what happens between then and your final resting place in the afterlife? What do you think's going to happen to you? How old will the man be who chases you around the house? Will it be 80? 100? Who knows? But yeah, or maybe it's just me. No, I think you would experience something. It doesn't have to be so creepy, right? It could just be your grandma standing. She's running around the house. She's like, oh, I was waiting for you to die so I could run. I love running. And grabbing you, laughing in your ear, shaking you. But, yeah, or I don't think it's just me. I don't ever believe anything is just me or it's just you. There's always other people who think about these things. So I'm curious as to what you guys think. So as we move into Christmas week, think about how you're going to die. No, not how you're going to die. Think about what you will experience the moment you die. Suddenly. Make a list. Make a list just like Santa's list. And I'd love to hear it. You can email it to me or you can announce it at your Christmas table. Hey, everyone. Dead Rabbit Radio told me to do this. Actually, you should do that. That'd be a great promo for the show. But anyways, I'm curious. I'm curious as to what you guys think. And hopefully that's not what happened to Barry. But I guess either way it was good. I mean, if he got abducted, they probably have skin samples of him on some spaceship right now. They could be making hybrid babies. That's not the best end of the story. He has a bunch of Christmas gifts he has to get for kids he doesn't even know exist. But maybe it was just the story of a child dying and shifting into another universe. Because in the home universe, the mom woke up and he was dead. That's always the sucky part, right? The whole idea of shifting timelines. It means someone has to deal with your death in the original universe. Just not in this one. That's another optimistic thought to have as we end this Christmas week. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.